say hi to everyone. My name is Joyce Alisharan, and I'm the president of Chimo Community, of the board of Chimo Community Services. Like so many, I came to Chimo first as a volunteer, working with people in crisis, work that affected me deeply, brought me greater meaning in my life, seeds that I have nurtured. I marvel at how these seeds, planted in so many hearts over the years, have blossomed into the Chimo Garden. Let me tell you about those seeds. Chimo means welcome and helping in Inuit. We are a non-profit society that helps people in crisis with a one-stop shop of support services. Last year, we supported 16,600 clients in 12 languages with 200 professionally trained volunteers. Let me repeat that, 16,000. I want to do a dance. 16,600 clients. 12 languages and 200 professionally trained volunteers. Most of our clients are Richmond residents. Now 16,600 is a very big number, but it doesn't tell the stories. It doesn't tell the stories of a young woman kicked out of her family home because of her choice of boyfriend. They were living in a tent, distrustful of institutions and adults, pregnant, planning to give up their baby, when our outreach worker linked up with them and stayed with them, talking to them over many, many months until she gained their trust. Initially, they didn't want our help, didn't want to move into one of our houses in our vacant house project. And I'll tell you about that project in a little bit later. But our outreach worker kept in contact, kept taking them vitamins, meeting them at the community meal, talking and listening, and always just being there. Fast forward to the baby's birth. They're now living in one of our houses. They have a beautiful baby, which they have decided to keep, and all of us at Chimo were hugging each other when our outreach worker showed us pictures of their backyard wedding. Imagine, picture this, a bright sunny day, the Justice of the Peace, our outreach worker, and this beautiful couple, joyously happy. Now he has a job, relations with her parents are improving, and to top it all off, this lovely young woman spoke eloquently at our AGM. We were all in tears. Nina Randawa, one of our amazing Chimo managers, and she's right over there right now, has so many stories that inspire, stories that mirror the experiences of so many others and that have come to Chimo. She tells me that story because she wasn't always passionately immersed and committed to making a meaningful difference in lives of others and in her own life that resulted from that. When she was young, she didn't know what to do with her life. As she tells it, I didn't even have any inkling that I could be passionate about anything. I was really young. I had no idea what I could do. Most of us go to school, we get degrees, we get diplomas, or we go into the trades, and then we start working. But I wasn't even sure what I wanted to do, where my heart was. What did I want to do with the rest of my life? So I started volunteering in different fields to get a feel of what I wanted and what it felt like to be in that job. I knew my strengths were that I could speak Punjabi and Hindi, so I started volunteering in a multilingual helpline in Surrey. I didn't think much about it. It was a good way to pass the time. I told people information, I talked to people, but I really wasn't emotionally engaged until I received a call from a woman so scared that her partner would hurt her. She worried about the safety of her children, and she described her situation in her language. And because of that, she didn't have to explain to Nina the pressures that she was feeling because of the cultural expectations and the stigma attached. I listened and felt her pain, Nina tells me. Then I reflected it back, what she said, paraphrased it. In doing that, she knew that I really understood. I felt what she felt. Her fear and anxiety lessened. I gave her options in simple steps, did safety planning, talked about our transition house. She was so deeply appreciative. It was like I had thrown her a lifeline. On my way home that day, I felt something different. Something had changed within me. This was my first experience in helping, and it changed me for good. And in fact, it did change Nina. After that, Nina started volunteering at a transition house and just loved it. All of a sudden, her life had meaning. And over the last 20 years at Chimo, she's continued to nurture the seeds of compassion, empathy, and deep, deep commitment. She also continued to plant the seeds in Chimo's garden. And now our Chimo Garden has so many beautiful welcoming programs that started out as seeds of ideas and always sprang from the belief that there is always an innovative way around barriers to get the resources that we need to help those in distress. For example, some years ago, Nina was working as an outreach and advocacy worker for the women in the transition house, our Nova House, which is our home for women and children fleeing abuse. She was the only outreach worker, so it didn't matter how many hours that there were in a day. It was never, ever enough. There were so many people in desperate need, and she was only one person. In collaboration with others at Chimo, they came up with the idea of recruiting volunteers who were graduating from programs in social work, psychology programs, or had life experiences that would allow them to be excellent candidates to support clients in crisis. They approached the Law Foundation, and the Law Foundation agreed to fund one person. That one person was Nina. Then they developed a superb training and mentoring program. All volunteers at Chimo pay for the 12-week course, and they commit to 100 hours of volunteer support service. So all of a sudden, Chimo went from being able to support 20 clients a month with a single worker to be able to help 100 clients a month with our many wonderful volunteers. The work is so rewarding that our volunteers often stay with us for 5 and 10 years. Our longest serving volunteer has been with us for 25 years. So, what is Chimo's secret sauce? Why do volunteers passionately commit to Chimo for such a length of time? Part of it's our training, and most importantly, our ongoing mentoring. Part of it, though, is the way we work. We listen. We listen between the lines. But you must wonder, how can that have such a life-changing impact on volunteers and the people that they serve? In many instances, our clients are upset and often distraught when they come to us. By truly validating their reality, mirroring back, paraphrasing, providing a way for them to understand and hear what they think diffuses the tension. And by doing so, the client is able to pick one thing in their life that they want to work on. It's not us telling them what they should do. They are choosing what they want to try to make better. We help them to develop a plan, and with our help, break down the barriers to make the changes that they want and need to make in their lives. For volunteers, this experience is a gift, and it touches them deeply and keeps them coming back year after year after year. It sounds simple, but it's often much more complicated and difficult than that. We rely on the many Chimo in-house programs. We're one-stop support services all at one place. For example, an 80-year-old woman who had lived with extreme physical and emotional abuse for much of her marriage came to us. For many years, she had focused on her children, But when they were all educated and living on their own, she faced the full onslaught of abuse, to the point that she spent numerous days in emergency department and at one point was hospitalized. Doctors had difficulty diagnosing the source of her medical challenges. Through our community engagement program, she learned about Chimo and came to us as an outreach and advocacy client, was immediately placed in Nova House, our home for women and children fleeing abuse. 2 weeks later, her daughter, seeing her mother's courage, came with her young daughter, and she was living in Nova House as well. Imagine making a life-changing difference in 3 generations of women. Fast forward to now. Her daughter has regained access to the family home. Her mother is living in the Lane house and taking care of the granddaughter. Both mother and daughter are going through divorce proceedings. Daughter has returned to a very successful job, and mom is volunteering at Chimo. She's 80 years old. It doesn't get any better than that. So this wonderful turnaround story happened because this brave elderly woman was able to access some of Chimo's many programs: the community engagement program, outreach and advocacy, Nova House, pro bono legal, all of it in a one-stop shop of support services. And our programs always start with one person that has the seed of an idea. And I know, looking out at this audience tonight, that many of you have tiny seeds of ideas that you wonder, what if, maybe. Our vacant house project is one example of a small seed that became something that really makes a difference. We desperately needed houses for our clients, and in speaking to a builder, realized that he had to wait a year or more for building permits. The builder gave us the use of the house for the time until he got the permit, which was over a year. And with the help of Richmond Shares and Home Start, we furnished the house and we provide wraparound services so all our clients can be successful. And when I say wraparound services, I mean being there for every challenge that a client would have in that house so that the program is successful. The program was so successful that Global News contacted us for permission to do a story and interview the residents. We were given an hour notice before the Global News crew came, and the yard was immaculate. The house was spotless. It was so successful that the builder didn't want to demolish the house, and he hired some of the men to do construction work. That small seed of an idea had grown into one of our very strong programs for us. Our programs always start with one person that has a seed of an idea that others may say is impossible. Add passion and creativity, and you can grow a flower and then a small garden, and sometimes it expands to what Chimo is today. There are so many flowers that are now in our Chimo Garden: our crisis line, our outreach and advocacy program, counseling for children witnessing violence, our home for children fleeing abuse, for women and children fleeing abuse, our apartment for single women coming out of Nova House. One of the current residents in one of our apartments is just finishing her medical requirements to become a doctor. Our homeless prevention program, our vacant house program, our senior rent bank, our Rental Connect program, our settlement services, our pro bono legal services, our family legal access center, our community engagement in the schools where we tackle partner abuse, suicide prevention, and leadership programs that I know there's many people here tonight that would be wonderful candidates for our community engagement volunteers. Yes, there are so many flowers in the Chimo Garden, programs that started as tiny seeds, someone's passionate commitment, a pressing community need, and a creative way to make it happen. You too can nurture the seeds within you. Plant them and passionately nurture them. Find creative ways to nurture the growth. You can do this. And in doing this, bring deeper meaning to your life. And I challenge each person here tonight to take a tiny seed and have the courage to just nurture it and let it become a flower. Thanks, everyone.